are taking their own lives, and university leaders say unless mental health care is improved, an entire generation could be let down. Their warning comes after the University of Bristol said a student had died suddenly and unexpectedly, the third in the city in just this month. Across England and Wales, the most recent figures show that 146 students took their own lives in 2016. Chichi Zunda reports.
April 21st, April 30th and the 5th of May 2018. The student deaths which have been sudden and unexpected at the University of Bristol. The two universities in the city have had 12 student deaths over the last 18 months, some of which have been ruled as a suicide, some of which are awaiting an inquest verdict, meaning university leaders are having to look much harder at how they can intervene earlier.
Increasing more mental health support, increasing the counselling service support for students, and also more support for vulnerable complex cases. But in addition, we've been having a more profound review of what more we can do to take a whole institution approach.
So this was Henry's room before he left home to go to university.
Suicide deaths among students have been steadily going up since 2006. Pippa's 21-year-old son Henry was studying photography in London. He's one of 146 students who took their own life in 2016.
He had lost weight. He had dark shadows under his eyes. He was clearly in crisis. He changed from being that super confident person to, well, he was just a shell of the person that he used to be. He held my hand really tightly, and it was almost like an uncanny kind of goodbye. He took his own life 5 days later.
Anxiety, depression, other mental health conditions, they're all increasing amongst students. At the University of Worcester, they take a different approach. They start with the possibility of suicide and inevitably address mental health issues as well.
It's possibly that the focus has been too much towards this end of the continuum and not actually addressing that student suicide can happen, does happen, and we need to have specific focus in terms of policy and in terms of training and support targeting that end too.
They're focusing on every aspect of student life, training all staff from security to cleaners and students to spot signs of crisis, using tea to encourage difficult chats, and therapy dogs to help lower stress and anxiety. More than 2 million people are currently at university, and the number of students asking for counselling is on the rise. That could be down to more starting with pre-existing mental health conditions, but things like academic and financial pressures are also being blamed.
The needs are very different from how they were 20, 30 years ago. So in terms of how do we design the system within a university, yes, I think we have to radically change that, but we also have to change the relationships that we have with other parties, the NHS. If we ignore it, we will have failed a generation. We will be setting ourselves up for huge costs and burdens on the NHS. But more than that, we will be destroying lives. And that is something that I don't think we can ignore.
All universities acknowledge there is a problem. The issue is understanding the best way to tackle it. Chichi Zundu, BBC News.
The Foreign Office says it's working with authorities in the Democratic Republic